Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Mini Hacks Solved. My name is Jason, and I'm a developer advocate at Slack. Today, I'll be walking through a solution to the mini hacks that we showcased at Trailblazer DX 2023 called Zero to Hello World. Get started with the Slack modular platform. But first, what are mini hacks? Mini hacks is an area in Trailblazer DX and in Dreamforce where developers and builders can challenge themselves by solving high-level use cases. Participants are provided with steps and resources to show them what needs to be done. Let's take a look at the requirements for the Zero to Hello World mini hack. One of the requirements for this hack is that you need the Slack CLI already installed. Since this may be the first time that you're learning about the Slack platform, let's go ahead and install this tool.
So we'll head on over to api.slack.com, click on the Get Started button, and this will bring us to the quick start. We've got a Mac installer, a window installer, and also a manual installer. But since I'm on a Mac, I'm going to use the Mac one. We'll copy the command and paste this into terminal. This command runs a script that installs the Slack CLI to our computer.
Now that we've installed the CLI, we want to make sure that we authenticate it to the workspace of our choosing.
We'll start by running the Slack login command. This will bring up a Slack auth ticket that we can post into Slack in order to authenticate the Slack CLI. Once we confirm this, we'll get a challenge code, and this will bring back to our terminal in order to authenticate.
Now we're ready to create an app.
So we're going to run the Slack create command, which will allow us to create a new project. Head to View More Samples and scroll to the bottom of the list. You can do this by pressing up here. You want to get to the Dino Hello World template. Once this is done, we're going to open this within Visual Studio Code by using the command code and the name of the folder. And this is where we'll be able to edit our files.
Next, we want to test our Hello World template to get an idea of what it looks like in Slack.
First, we're going to change into the directory where our app is and use the Slack run command. This command will run our app locally. You'll notice that the Slack CLI is asking us to create a trigger. We can use the first file here. Once the trigger is created, you'll notice that it says connecting, waiting events. This is a sign that tells us that the Slack CLI has finished doing all of its commands. Let's copy the trigger link and see what it looks like within Slack. You'll notice that once you post this link within Slack, you'll see a little pop-up that says Start Workflow. Let's click it. Clicking this will start our workflow, which sends a greeting to a person. Let's send a greeting to myself to test it out. There we go.
While your app is running, let's change some of the inputs that we see in the form.
Within the Workflows folder, let's head on over to Greeting Workflow. Within the Open Form function, let's change the name of one parameter, in this case, channel. We're going to add the word ephemeral. Now when we click our workflow, you'll notice that this has been reflected. This is because the Slack run command is still running.
The next step involves an understanding of Slack functions. Slack functions capture native Slack functionality, such as sending messages, DMs, or creating channels, and do not require any additional logic. Currently, when you submit the greeting form, the message is sent to a channel for everyone to see. We need to edit our app so that only the person that we send it to is able to view it. For this, we'll use an ephemeral message.
If we take a look at the code and scroll down to the very bottom, we'll see a function called send message. We want to change this to an ephemeral message instead of a regular message.
Let's take a look at the documentation to get started.
So we can access the Slack API website. Within the documentation, there's a page that describes all of the functions that are available to the Slack platform. Here, we'll see send message, as well as send ephemeral message, which is the method that we're looking for. There's 3 input parameters for this particular method: user ID, channel ID, and message. The one that's different here is the user ID, which is required for the send ephemeral message method.
With this information, let's make some changes to the send message workflow step.
So let's change the send message method to send ephemeral message instead, and add that user ID that's required for that method. So where's the user ID going to come from? In this case, we're going to take it directly from the form that pops up when you click Start Workflow. In order to access this variable, we're going to look at the outputs from the form. In this case, this is the recipient. In order to access this, we're going to use input_form.outputs.fields.recipient.
Now that that's done, we'll make sure that our app is still running and test our app again.
So we're going to click Start Workflow, send a message to myself again. And in this case, it'll say, only visible to you. And there we go. So the last step is to deploy this onto the Slack infrastructure using the command slack deploy. The good thing about this is that you won't need to host this app on your own, and we'll do all of the work for you. In the same way, we're going to create a trigger for the deployed version. We'll copy this link into Slack once again, and we'll trigger the workflow in the same method. We'll send a message again to myself and see what it looks like. So this is what the message looks like. In this case, we won't have the words local beside it because this is the deployed version. And that's the end of the mini hack.
I encourage you all to try out the next generation platform. All the documentation and the related videos can be found in the description box. Thanks for watching. Bye.